You ever do something and instantly regret it? You say something harsh, ghost someone you care about, lie, cheat, cut corners, and then that quiet voice creeps in. Why did I do that? That's not who I am. But maybe it is a part of you. What if I told you? You're not one person, you're three. And they're constantly in conflict. One of them wants pleasure, now. The other wants control, perfection, and the third, it's trying to keep the peace, and getting torn apart in the process. Freud didn't just give us a theory, he gave us a mirror. One that shows just how chaotic our inner world really is, because deep inside you, there's a wild child, a moral judge, and a tired negotiator stuck between them. And until you understand who's actually pulling the strings, you'll keep sabotaging yourself and calling it a mistake. Part 1: the devil on your shoulder. The ID. You felt it. That sudden, uncontrollable urge. To yell, to indulge, to escape. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for logic. It's just there, pounding inside you like a drum. This is the id. Freud called it the most primitive part of who we are. A part we're born with. The ID lives deep in the unconscious. It doesn't speak words. It doesn't care about consequences. Its only language is want, and it always wants now. Pleasure, satisfaction, release, that's all it knows. Imagine you're walking past a bakery. You just ate, but the smell hits you, sweet, buttery, warm. Your stomach says no, your mind says stop, but your hand, already reaching for your wallet. That's the id. It's the inner child who never grew up. It doesn't care if it's good for you, or if you've had enough. It only knows desire, and if it had full control, you'd never stop eating, scrolling, shouting, chasing. The id is the fire. It's the part that makes you crave things you shouldn't. The part that gets you into trouble, but also the part that makes you feel alive. Freud believed this chaotic force was powered by what he called the libido. Not just sex, but the raw energy of all human drives. The need to survive, to connect, to feel something, anything. And here's the catch. Everyone has an id. Even the calmest, most disciplined person you know. Even you, the one watching this video, thinking, I'm not like that. Yes, you are, and the more you deny it, the more control it gains behind the scenes. Because the id doesn't disappear when ignored. It hides, it waits, and sometimes it explodes. Think of every moment you've lost control, raised your voice, broke a promise, acted on impulse. That wasn't weakness. That was the id breaking through. And here's the truth Freud knew. We can't kill the ... and we shouldn't try. Because it's not evil, it's human. But if we want to live freely, we have to recognize when that voice is speaking. The one that whispers, just do it, who cares? And learn to pause before we obey. Part to the middleman, the ego. If the id is the wild child screaming for candy in the store, then the ego is the exhausted parent trying to keep everyone calm. It's not there to silence the chaos. It's there to negotiate with it. The ego is the part of your psyche that develops as you grow. It learns to speak the language of the world. Rules, consequences, logic, survival. It doesn't try to kill the id. It tries to keep it from ruining your life. Let's say your id wants to quit your job on impulse. Scream at someone, binge the whole cake. The ego steps in and says, okay, I hear you. Let's take a breath. Let's think this through. It's not just a filter. It's a translator. Freud called it the reality principle, where the id screams, I want it now. The ego whispers, what's actually possible? It's the part that makes plans, delays gratification, knows that long-term peace is better than short-term dopamine. Think of the ego as the middle manager stuck between two tyrants, the impulsive id and the rigid superego. It's trying to keep the company, your psyche, from burning down. But that's not easy, because the ego is always under pressure, and it doesn't always win. When it's weak, you might cave to temptation or get crushed by guilt, but when it's strong, truly strong, you feel grounded, clear, in control. You act with intention, not compulsion. You pause before reacting. You decide instead of obey. Freud believed the goal of mental health wasn't to eliminate the ID or dominate the superego, but to strengthen the ego, to make it the calm center in a storm of desire and judgment. So ask yourself, how often do you give yourself space to pause before acting? How often does your ego get a say before the chaos or the critic takes over? That space, the moment between urge and action, is where freedom lives, and the ego is your access point to it. Part 3: The inner judge, the superego. There's a voice in your head. It doesn't scream like the id. It doesn't negotiate like the ego. It whispers ... but it cuts deep. You should have done better. You're not enough. You failed again. This is the superego, your inner judge. Where the I demands pleasure, the superego demands perfection. It's built from every rule you've ever been taught. Don't be lazy. Be polite. Work harder. Make them proud. At its best, the superego is your moral compass. The voice that helps you choose right over wrong, even when no one's watching. But at its worst, it becomes a tyrant. The superego can hold you to impossible standards. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if you tried your best. If you didn't hit perfect, you failed. Where does it come from? Freud believed the superego is shaped in childhood. From your parents' voices, your teachers, religion, culture. The world around you saying, this is what a good person looks like. This is what makes you worthy of love. And you, desperate to belong, internalized it. So now, that voice isn't outside anymore. It's inside you. And sometimes it never shuts up. Think about it. Have you ever felt guilty for resting? Ashamed for saying no? Anxious about disappointing someone, even if it hurts you? That's not logic. That's the superego. It doesn't deal in nuance. It loves black and white thinking. Good versus bad, right versus wrong. Success or failure, no middle ground, no grace. But here's the truth, you are not your superego. You are the one hearing it. And once you realize that, you can question it, you can soften it, you can rebuild it. Freud didn't want us to kill the superego. He wanted us to recognize when it's helping and when it's hurting. Because true morality isn't fear, it's compassion. And real strength isn't perfection. It's permission to be human. Part for the inner war. And why you suffer. Anxiety, guilt, shame, burnout. We've all felt them, and most of us try to numb them. Scroll faster, work harder, stay busy ... But what if I told you these feelings aren't random? They are the smoke from an invisible fire inside you. And that fire is the war between your ID, your ego, and your superego. Think about it. Your id wants immediate gratification. It says, do it. You deserve it. Who cares? Your superego wants you to be perfect. It says, you failed. Again, you're not enough. And your ego, it's stuck in the middle, trying to survive the crossfire. No wonder you're exhausted. No wonder you feel torn. No wonder you lie awake at night, replaying everything you did wrong. Freud saw this conflict as the root of our suffering. Not just mentally, but emotionally, spiritually, even physically. Because when your ego is weak, you either surrender to your ID gives impulsive choices, regret, addiction. Collapse under your superego gives anxiety, depression, perfectionism, and in both cases, you feel like you've lost control of your life. So what's the solution? Not to eliminate the id, not to obey the superego blindly, but to strengthen the ego, so it can hold the line. The ego is your inner adult, the calm in the storm. The only part of you that can say, yes, I feel this desire, yes, I hear that shame. But I choose something else, and that's real power. Not force, not suppression, but conscious choice. Freud didn't want you to live a moral life driven by guilt. He wanted you to live a free life, where your decisions come from awareness, not pressure, where you can want something, but not be ruled by it, where you can feel unworthy, and still act with love. That's the work. Not killing parts of yourself, but learning to listen to them all and choosing the wiser path. So the next time you feel that internal tension, that emotional tug of war, pause, ask yourself, who's speaking right now? My craving, my critic, or the calm voice I've been too busy to hear? Because once your ego learns to listen, it can learn to lead. And when it leads with wisdom, you stop living at war with yourself and start living with yourself. Part 5, Real Life Reflection. Which voice is loudest in you? You've met all three voices: the ID wild, impulsive, hungry for pleasure; the superego, strict, judgmental, demanding perfection; and the ego, trying to keep the peace, trying to keep you whole. Now ask yourself honestly, which one's been the loudest in your life lately? Is it the ID, whispering to escape, indulge, numb? Is it the superego, shaming you into silence, criticizing your every step? Or is it the ego, tired, but still trying to stay centered? Most of us have no idea who's in control. We think we're making conscious choices, but we're reacting, triggered, pushed by old voices we never learned to question. And the truth is, that's not weakness. That's being human. You're not broken for having conflicting thoughts. You're not fake for showing kindness while feeling rage. You're not flawed for craving rest and still feeling guilty. You're just alive and complex and evolving. Freud didn't design this model to judge you. He wanted you to understand yourself, because the goal isn't to become perfect. It's to become aware of the tug of war inside you, aware of which part is speaking and which one you're ignoring. So next time you snap at someone you love, sabotage something good, feel like you're not enough, pause. Don't rush to shame. Don't numb it away. Instead, ask, who's speaking right now? And what do I need to hear instead? That question, that pause, is where your power lives. You don't need to silence your id. You don't need to obey your superego. And you don't need to be a perfect ego either. You just need to listen to all of it with curiosity, not judgment. Because wholeness isn't about choosing one part over another. It's about honoring all parts and learning how to lead them. You are not your cravings. You are not your shame. You are the one who can choose what comes next. And that's what it means to be free. Let's bring it all together. The next time you feel overwhelmed, when you snap at someone, freeze in shame, or run from something that matters, don't rush to judge yourself. Don't drown in guilt. Don't pretend you're fine. Instead, pause, breathe, and ask yourself the one question Freud would have loved. Which voice just took the wheel? Was it the child screaming for comfort, the critic demanding perfection, or the quiet voice you've been ignoring for far too long? You see, freedom isn't the absence of chaos. It's awareness within the chaos. It's the power to name what you feel and choose what happens next. Because real change doesn't come from hating yourself. It comes from understanding yourself, from saying, "Oh, that was my ID. I get why I reacted. That was my superego, always pushing, never satisfied. That was my ego, trying to keep me safe." The moment you can name it, you reclaim it. You are no longer controlled, you are conscious. And that's the beginning of everything. So if this message stirred something in you, if it reminded you of that inner battle you keep quiet, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Subscribe for more deep dives into the mind every week. You're not too sensitive. You're not overreacting. You're not broken. You're becoming aware. And awareness is the doorway to freedom.